24:1, which is on page 108. Okay, so we started talking about this yesterday, about the first Shidduch in history. Right at the bottom of the page, so it says, Avram Zakein Baba Yomim. Avram was older, coming along in days. So the Meforshim say that Avram was older, coming along in days. It really should say Avram Avinu was getting older and his days were going out. Why does it say he was Baba Yomim? He was coming along in days. It's a subtle question, but it should say his days were leaving him, as opposed to he was coming along. You're not coming along in days. You're leaving your days as a person gets older. So you have over here a difference in attitude. It depends what you're living for. For a person who's living for this world, and the fun of this world is usually when a person's younger. So a person who's younger and he's getting older, so there's a certain sense of, my days are leaving me. Because when a person gets older, sometimes people spend their life working and they'll enjoy the money when they retire. There are a lot of people who do that. You ever heard that attitude? Well, we'll enjoy it when we retire. Well, first of all, you retire when you're about 65 or 70. So number one, there's a technical problem. You might not make it. You might not make it. You might be just leaving your money for other people. You might not make it to 65 or 70, number one. Number two is the further problem that when you're 65 or 70, the activities, like usually action verbs ending in ing, like harpooning and tobogganing and sailing and when you're 65 or 70, it kind of loses its, you're not really into tobogganing and harpooning. You're more into visiting, like doctoring and denturing. Denture adhesive, finding better denture adhesives becomes your outing, ing. So for a younger person, it's all exciting, but as you get older, it's like you're living for that, and it's your yotze, your days are leaving you. When you're an older person, Avram Baba Yamim, he's coming along with his days. The days were productive. He has something to show for his life. He did something. He achieved something. So he's Avram, he's Baba Yamim, he's coming along with his days, because for a person who's living for a purpose, so the days are meaningful, and the days aren't just a collection of emptiness that you left in the past. Okay, now take a look at. So he spoke yesterday about that he's not going to. He tells him he invokes a vow, an oath. He has Eliezer swear. I don't want you to take one of the locals. You got to go take somebody from my family. The locals are idol worshipers. No good. When you go to my family, they're not the greatest people in the world, but at least they aren't idol worshipers, and they have some sort of genetic. There'll be hopefully the family genetics will bring whoever the girl is into the value system that I've taught Yitzchak, because this is going to be a wife for Yitzchak. So Eliezer takes his camels, and he gets a skip all the way down until the bottom of page 110. And he heads off for Aram Naharaim, where the family is living. Avram's extended family is living there. So pick it up 6 lines from the bottom. Vayavrech hagmalim michutz la'ir, page 110, 6 lines from the bottom. He takes the camels. How does he translate yavrech? He has them kneel down. See, one word in Hebrew takes a whole sentence in English. Vayavrech hagmalim michutz la'ir. He has the camels rest el be'er hamayim. He goes to the well. And remember, this is not the first time we've seen somebody go to the well look for a wife. Where's the first time we found it? Oh, this is the first time, actually. We'll find, sorry, this is the first time. We'll find it 2 subsequent times. Who goes to the well? Yaakov goes to the well to find a wife. And Moshe Rabbeinu goes to the well. And the reason is because that's where you're going to find people. In the old ancient world where you didn't have running water, people eventually have to end up by the well. People end up by the well. It's like when you play soccer. I always used to score goals at soccer because I just hung around in front of the net. It was one way or another, that ball's got to come in front of the net. They're not going to score from the corner. And you're not going to get your names in the headlines in the corner. right? It's the guys who score the goals. You know, so they used to call me a cheap American glory seeker. So they're all the Europeans called the English guys here when I played soccer with them. They were right, but that ball's got to come out in front of one way or another. That's where it's going to end up. So when you're looking for a wife, so you go to the well. That's where the people are going to be. So he goes out there when they're drawing the water, and then he says a prayer. And it's an interesting prayer, he says. Look, he's looking for qualifications. It says, Vayomar Hashem Elokei Adoni Avraham. Hashem, the master of the God of my master Avraham, Hakreina lefanai hayom. Make it happen today. Va'asei chesed im Adoni Avraham. Do kindness with my master Avraham. Now, he got there in one day. He got there in 3 hours. And it's a trip that should have taken 10 days. That from a picture from going by foot by camel from Beersheba all the way out to what would be called Syria. You got to go there by foot, and he gets there in 3 hours, what we call kfitzas haderech. Kfitzas haderech is a phenomenon we find other places in the Torah, where one way or another there's some sort of the miraculous travel, where you get there, next thing you know, you're there. And it's called kfitzas haderech. The earth jumped. There was some sort of supernatural jump. And then he says the following. Here are his qualifications. He says, I'm going to be by the well, and the girls are going to come out and draw water. 2 lines from the bottom. The young lady where I tell her, please, tilt the jug down and I'll drink. And she says, now pay attention carefully. Shesei, drink, v'gam gemalecha ashke, drink, and I will also give to your camels to drink. Also, Yitzchak, that's the one that you have demonstrated for your servant Yitzchak. Uva eda ki asisa chesed b'adoni, and that's how I'll know that you have done kindness with my master Avraham. That's quite a test. Yeah, that's quite a sign. You want to marry a girl. So you tell me, pick a girl for me. Okay, which one do you want? The one who'll give you to drink and your camels too. Those are the qualifications. That's what he's looking for. That's the sign Eliezer is looking for. What does that mean? That means that the sign, it doesn't say anywhere when you're looking for a young lady to marry, it doesn't say anywhere that she has to be smart. It doesn't say she has to be gorgeous. She has to be acceptable to you. We learned the Gemara in Kedushin, right? She has to be that she doesn't repulse you. But it doesn't say anything about her that she has a PhD. You know what PhD stands for, don't you? Papa has dough. All right, doesn't say anywhere that that's a qualification. All it says is she has to be kind. She has to do chesed. PhD doesn't hurt, but she has to do chesed. That's what it says. Now, we have a problem because we know Eliezer is looking for a sign. He's looking for a sign. And we know that the halacha is that superstition, signs are forbidden according to the Torah says later on that superstition is prohibited. A classic example would be if you see a black cat cross your path. So Gemara gives an example if you're eating and a piece of bread drops out of your mouth. So at the point that you had decided you would do something that day, like get involved in a business deal or go on a trip, and you cancel it because of the sign, it's a bad omen. Piece of bread dropped out of my mouth. At that point, if you take action or inaction as a result of the omen, then you're transgressing a Torah law. So you're not allowed to look. We're not superstitious. Superstition is a contradiction to faith in God. Superstition is a contradiction to faith in God. So the commentaries ask, or a black cat crosses your path is bad luck. You ever hear that one? So a black cat crosses your path. So I have, or if you look in a mirror and it breaks. You ever hear that one? Or walking under a ladder. These are famous superstitions. I think that a lot of these superstitions probably have some sort of logic behind them. Some guy once walked under a ladder and a bucket of paint fell and cracked the skull from up above. That's bad luck to walk under a ladder. I'd say it is certainly for the guy who's up on the ladder because maybe you'll kick the ladder and he'll fall. So there is a certain amount of logic. If a black cat crosses your path, if it happens to be a panther, so that's pretty bad. That's bad luck. I'm sure that probably won't happen. They didn't say how big the cat is. We once went on an Earth Map trip. They took us to Engedi. This is one of the ones I did go on because no cliffs. So we're walking. So we embark on the path. And there's a sign that says, beware of bobcats. So I'm looking at the sign. I'm thinking to myself, now what am I supposed to do with this information? Right? Beware of bobcats. And now let's say I see a bobcat. What am I supposed to say? I look at the Bible, don't mess, bro. I'm aware of you. Well, why are you telling me this? Is it in order that I should know that this may be my last conscious act? Why are you? So if I had an AK-47 with me, okay, good. So I got a bobcat, and it's me against him. Maybe I stand a chance. I'm not sure why you're telling me this, but I have a strong suspicion that's where some of these superstitions started. The bottom line is you're not allowed to be superstitious. And we don't live on signs and omens. So why is Eliezer allowed to ask for a sign? Why is Eliezer, who is, according to our sources, he's a Torah observant, because Avram was Torah observant, and they kept all of the Torah, even rabbinic law, before it was given. So why is Eliezer allowed to rely on what's called nichush? What's called nichush? What's called a superstition? Or omens. Why is he allowed to rely on an omen? The answer is that there are two types of omens. There are certain omens that have nothing to do with logic. There's no logic to the omen. A black cat crossed your path, therefore you're not going to get involved in a business deal, then you're being silly, you're being superstitious. But here you're looking for a logical sign. It's like a guy says, listen, I think I'm going to go sailing tomorrow. If I look up in the heavens and it's clear day, then I'm going to go sailing. But if I see clouds, threatening black clouds in the heavens, I'm not going to go sailing tomorrow. That's a pretty logical sign, because you don't want to get caught out in a storm. So Eliezer is asking for a logical sign. What's the logical sign? The logical sign is I'm looking for a girl who does chesed. I'm looking for a girl who does kindness. So if a girl says to me, drink, number one, and number two, I'll give your camels to drink. Camels drink a tremendous amount. He's got 10 camels with him. Camels can load up, and it means going down to the well, drawing water, pouring it in the trough so the camels can drink, then going down again and loading up that trough and reloading it. That's a girl who's she's got a very kind heart. That's what he's looking for as a sign. But it's even more. See, he wants to see. There's something called being smart. There's something being called common sense or tact. It's a different, a girl can be very smart. It's like a guy was offered to go out with a girl, and they said, yeah, she got a degree in this, and she got a degree in this, and the guy said, she has so many degrees, she sounds like she's a thermometer. So he's not interested in marrying a professor. But here, there's a certain amount of common sense. Now look at the test here. Eliezer is saying, look, she's going to give me the drink. So you fill a bucket and give me, what's she going to do with the rest of the water? What's she going to do after I drink? Now, what's she going to do with the rest of the water? This is where the Gemara logic comes up. If she says, okay, now I'm taking the rest of the water home, that's not very smart. Maybe he's got some disease. Maybe he's got some sort of contagious disease. He drank from the water, and she's pouring from the bucket. Maybe, to bring that water home to your family, that's not very smart. What's the other thing to do? Pour it out on the ground. Yeah, but that'll be insulting to him. He's like, listen, I don't know who you are. Maybe you're diseased. There's only one correct response, which is that she says, I'll give it to the camels also. That means she's got the tact to understand, I don't want to insult the guy and I don't want to hurt my family. So the test over here is a double-layered test. It's a test of her kindness, and it's also a test in Yiddish. We say she's klug. She's with it. She's with it. It's not book smart. She's got good common sense and good tact. That's what the test is. I'll tell you my favorite Shidduch story. Want to hear a good Shidduch story? So there's a guy who decides he wants to get married. So he goes to, there's a certain place. Have you ever been to Amuka? Have you ever heard of Amuka, where Rabbi Yonasan ben Uziel is buried? And there's apparently some sort of legend that before Rabbi Yonasan, he was an Amora. He was the one who, when he learned Torah, birds burnt overhead from the fire of his Torah. So when he was buried in Amuka, it's up there somewhere in the north. You go down into this valley, and he's buried. So apparently the legend is that anybody who's looking for a Shidduch, if you come in Dovid at his grave, so he'll intervene somehow and you find your Shidduch. Okay, so this guy decides he wants to go find a Shidduch. He wants to go down for a Shidduch. So he goes up to Amuka. So before the Erev Shabbos, he gets the tzfas. And he gets the tzfas. So for Shabbos, then Motzei Shabbos, he's going to go down to Amuka. He gets the tzfas, and sees a young lady in a brown dress, and he's smitten. his young lady in a brown dress, he can't approach her because he's a bacher, she's a bacherette, it's inappropriate, it's like a bagel and a baguette, a bacher and a bacherette. And so, he can't approach her. So, okay, what could you do? Motzei Shabbos, he spends Shabbos in Sfas, goes to daven at the Karlbach Minyan, and sure enough, there in the Ezra Tzachim, there she is again, the young lady in a brown dress. Okay, Motzei Shabbos, he goes to daven in a mukkah, and just as he's getting there, who's leaving? Young lady in a brown dress. And then he davens there, and he finds a sitter. Somebody left a sitter behind. There are a lot of sitters left behind in a mukkah. And he finds a sitter, he opens it up, and they have a Shifra Schwartz, right, with an address. So he goes to the address the next day to return the sitter, and sure enough, who answers the door? Young lady in a brown dress. Same young lady. She needs another dress, by the way, but a young lady in a brown dress. Then the next day, a friend of his calls him up. He says, I got a Shidduch for you. What's the name? Shifra Schwartz. Brown dress? That's the one. This is unbelievable. The next day, gets a call from a shadchan. Got a young lady for you. Who is it? Shifra Schwartz. Brown dress? That's the one. The two of them meet, and 2 weeks later they get engaged, and 6 weeks later they get married. And 3 months later they get divorced. You didn't expect that, did ya? Did ya? That's my favorite Shidduch story. I'll tell you why. Because you don't get married based on omens and signs. You get married based on logic. Is it the right girl? Did we connect? Is there chemistry? Does she have a PhD? I mean, she only got one dress, man. It's a problem. Yeah, you don't get married based on, I davened, and the next day the shadchan called, this must be it. No, maybe it's a test. And maybe you have to go, no omens, no signs. I'm not even talking about prohibited signs. I'm talking in your own mind. It must be faith. That's not how you get married. You get married based on somebody who's got same goals as you do. That's how the Shidduch system works. Everybody's always wondering, how could you possibly marry somebody who you met 3 times? I mean, aren't you supposed to date for a while and go out for a while? The answer is, first of all, you have free choice. You're not forced to marry anybody. But you have, people say, I need to find the other half. You ever hear that expression? I need to find the other half. Before you find the other half, you have to find the first half. You have to find the first half. You have to, where am I going? What are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish in life? Then somebody finds a young lady who sounds like she's got the same goals and the same outlook, and the two of you seem to be compatible based on it's all on paper in the meantime. And I've seen a lot of times where on paper it's perfect, and then the couple meets, the chemistry isn't there. The chemistry is there, it's a one and done. But often it works that you meet and you see there is a chemistry. And then you go out again. And you go out until the point where there is no new information coming in. And in the frum world, where people have limited backgrounds, where the most adventurous thing they've ever done is go bowling, so you talk about people from very similar backgrounds. I talk about a yeshiva guy with a Beis Yaakov girl, and they both take a long time benching. It's very, with Bali Tshuva, so there's more variation. There's more variation. Sometimes Bali Tshuvas need to spend a little more time getting to know each other. With the families, in the frum world, it's a little more. But at the end of the day, if the chemistry is there, how long does it take to figure out if there's chemistry? It doesn't take that long. It doesn't take that. When I met my wife, after the second date, I broke the rules a little bit, but after the second date, I said to her, after the first date, I said, all right, this is going to definitely be in the ballpark. And after the second date, I said to her, if I ever propose, don't give me the runaround. Either you say yes or no. That was after the second date. Because after the 7th date, after the third date, I started getting nervous. After the third date, I started getting, because I couldn't think of any real good reason not to marry her. So then I started getting nervous. I go, oh, this is for keeps. This may actually be it. Whoa. Then I started getting nervous. After the 7th date, I proposed. So she didn't give me the runaround. I just said, do you want to get married? She said to me, to who? It wasn't funny. So I wasn't amused. But the chemistry was there. If the chemistry is there, you basically you have the same goals in life. You're heading in the same direction. It's not like you meet a girl and you date for a little while. Next thing you know, she's bringing up marriage, and it's the farthest thing from your mind. Or you bring up marriage, she says, marriage, I'm going to 7 years of medical school now. All of this is done in advance. So there shouldn't be these mistakes of like, well, I was intending, this is my idea and this is her idea. So here you have, we don't base it on omens though. It's got to be based on logic, even though there's a limit to what you could know. And by the way, secular studies have shown couples that have lived together before marriage to test compatibility have a higher divorce rate than those that haven't. So much for familiarity. And no matter who you marry, no matter how long you know them, after marriage it's a different ballgame. Somebody once said they found a food that cures romance. It's called wedding cake. A lot of depth to that, right? You get married. All marriages are happy. All marriages are happy, by the way. You know that? All marriages, it's the living together afterwards that's a problem. The marriage is, the wedding is always happy. It's just what happens afterwards. So the Torah is telling you, the Torah attitude is, listen, we'll see more about the Torah attitude in a second. But that's his test. That's his test the test is a test of her chesed, is a test of how klug she is. So what happens? Young lady comes walking out to the well. Second line from the top, page 112. Vayhihu terem kilo ledaber. He hadn't even finished speaking. He's saying this prayer and the qualification, what he's looking for. Vine Rivka yotzes. Here comes the Rivka. Asher yulda levisul ben milka eshes nachar achi Avram. Boy, that's vikadal. She's carrying a jug. And the Medrash says the first time she ever left the house to go out. She's a wealthy girl from the wealthy family. She had servants, and Providence had it that on this one day she was going out to the well, and when did she get there? Right when he finishes his tefillah. V'anara tovas mare me'od. She's very good looking. Besula, she's a virgin. V'ish lo yada, no man ever involved with her, which was strange in that country. V'atered ha'ayna v'tabali kadav hashal. She fills up the jug and she comes up. Now watch this. V'yorat se'eved likrasa. He goes running towards her. You know, the Medrash says she was 3 years old. The Medrash says she was 3 years old, which shouldn't be strange for us. Because if people could live to 180, and if it's long on the far end, so it could be short on the it's what the Medrash says she was 3 years old, or she was pure like a 3-year-old, whatever it means. Vayoratza evidly krasa. This guy comes running towards her. Now, he comes running towards her. That's a part of the test. How's she gonna get? What is she gonna maintain her poise, or is she get all spooked? Got some strange guys running at her. Vayomer hagmini namat ma'im mikadech. Let me have a little bit of water from your jug. Now watch how she answers. Vatomer shesei adoni. Drink, my master. Vatimahir. She very quickly. Vatored kada al yada vateshkeo. She gives it to drink. Vatechala ashkosa. She waits till he finishes drinking. Vatomer gamlik malach hashav. I will draw for your camels also. Now you notice this is not the way he said the test. When he said it, look back for a second. Look at the subtle change. I'll show you why it's so important. The bottom line says that he wanted to hear her say, Shesei v'gam gmalecha ashke. Drink and I will also give to your camels. And she didn't do that. She said, drink. She gave him to drink. And only afterwards she said, and now I will give your camels to drink. Why is that significant? And this Eliezer sees as a further sign of her qualifications. The answer is, if you come to my house with a dog and you're at the door, I say, come in and I'll give you and the dog something to eat. What did I just do? I just put, what?
You put the dog and the person in the same
I put the dog and the person in the same category. I come on in, you and your dog, I'll give you something to eat. I'll put you in the same category. She says, come on, I'll give you and the camel something to drink. So she put them in the same category as the camels. She's too tactful for that. She says to him, here, drink. After he finishes, he goes, now I'm going to give your camel something. She breaks them up. Could be very insulted, you and the dog, you and the camels, number one. Number two, there's an interesting Gemara. Now watch this. The Gemara says that Rav Nachman and Rav Yitzchak were once sitting at a table eating. And Rav Nachman said to Rav Yitzchak, say a Dvar Torah. There's halacha, you're supposed to say a Dvar Torah at the table. By the way, Dvar Torah doesn't have to be a speech. All you got to do is say one line of halacha. You could say, by the way, you could say something like, you're not allowed to speak Lashon Hara. That's a Dvar Torah at the table. So Dvar Torah, it doesn't have to be a long, elaborate, what do you call it? Okay, so Rav Nachman says to Rav Yitzchak, say a Dvar Torah at the table. So Rav Yitzchak said to him, Ein mesichin basuda. You don't talk while you eat. Shem yakdim kon elevation, because the food is supposed to go down through the esophagus, and if you talk, the epiglottis, which is the covering over the windpipe, opens up. When you talk, there's a small membrane called an epiglottis that covers the windpipe. And it's covered while you're eating so that the food goes down through the esophagus. But if you talk, that windpipe, that small membrane opens up, and then the food, chas v'shalom, could go down into the windpipe, person could choke. So Rav Nachman said to Rav Yitzchak, say Dvar Torah. He said, Ein mesichin l'suda. You don't talk at the meal. Shema yakdim kana leveshet. Okay, because you're worried that the guy might choke. After they finished eating, he said, okay, now I'll say Dvar Torah. Yaakov Avinu lo mes. Yaakov Avinu never died. So Rav Nachman said to him, what do you mean he never died? The pasuk says that he died, they embalmed him. And Rav Yitzchak said, I'm darshaning a pasuk from another pasuk. There's a pasuk, and based on the drasha, which we've had lots of drashas, based on the drasha, Yaakov Avinu never died. That's what the Gemara says in Titus. So the commentary, the Ben Ish Chai, he asked, I understand. Okay, he said a Dvar Torah. Why did he choose of all? There's a big Torah out there. There's a big Torah out there. Why was the Dvar Torah Yaakov Avinu never died? Why was that his Dvar Torah? The answer is, according to the Ben Ish Chai, who's at risk for talking at the table? So we would think the guy who's got food in his mouth, if he talks, it's dangerous. So Rav Nachman and Rav Yitzchak wanted, it's not just a danger for the guy himself to talk, it's a danger for anybody else to talk. Why? Because if somebody else at the table says something outlandish, the guy with food in his mouth might start reacting all of a sudden, and then suddenly he'll just start talking, and then chas v'shalom he could choke. Why? How did he prove it to him? Because he says an outlandish Dvar Torah after they ate. Yaakov Avinu never died. What do you mean? Oh, now what if you had food in your mouth at that point? What if you would have had food in your mouth and I said something like that? I said a shocker. All of a sudden I said Yaakov Avinu lo mes. What? Oh, he's got a mouthful of food, so that could be dangerous. So what did Rivka understand? Rivka says, listen, if I say I'm going to give you to drink, and she waits till he finishes drinking, because if while he's drinking she announces, and I'm also going to give your camels to drink, like it's a shock. A little girl's going to go and she's going to feed all these camels, and therefore she's got the tact to wait until he finishes, that she announces what she's going to do with the camels, so that she doesn't say it while he's drinking, so he doesn't start choking on the water. Which, by the way, it is possible to choke on water. I mean, sometimes you start choking on water, it comes out through your nose. But it is possible for to actually die by choking on water. It is a possibility. So that's the tact. That's what she says to him. Okay. So now, enter my favorite character in the Torah. Eliezer asks her first. Now, look at this strange sequence here. Pasuk, skip down to Pasuk Chaf Beis, 6 lines from the bottom. On page 112, 6 lines from the bottom. Vayihi kasher, I got all thirsty from all talking about the water. Vayihi kasher kilu agmalim lishtos, when the camels finished drinking. Vayikach ha'ish nezem zahav, takes a golden bracelet, beka mishkalo, it's like a heavy piece of gold. Ushneit smidim al yadeh, and 2 bracelets, asara zav mishkalam. So he gives her a bunch of gold. He gives her some golden, what do you call it? Jewelry. Thank you. Then he says, Vayomer bas mi'at. Whose daughter are you? I mean, it's a strange order to do this. Because remember, he has to get a girl from Avram Avinu's family. So first he gives her the gold. Then he says, and by the way, who are you? Hagidi nali. Hayesh beis avich makom lo. Who are you? Does your father have a place for us to sleep? Vatomer ela, very, very calmly. Bas besul anochi. He answers the first question first. She's not all rattled because he gave her the gold. Ben milka sheyolda lenachor. Vatomer elav gam teven gam mispo ravibonu gam makom. We got plenty of place to sleep. And the guy says, Baruch Hashem. Why did he give it to her first? Because he saw this is the wife for Yitzchak. He was so sure of it. Now it's just details. Exactly who are you in the family? But he's so sure that she's the one. It also says in the Medrash when she went down to the trough, the water rose towards her. So he's got he's convinced that this is her. Now enter my favorite character in the Torah. Ula Rivka, she goes home. Pasuk Chaftes, 4 lines from the top. Ulerivka ach ushmo Laban. Rivka has a brother, and his name is Laban. What does Laban mean, gentlemen?
White.
White. Now, what do we know? What do you know about Laban from another source? What do you know about Laban? He's a scammer, right? That's one of the reasons he's called Laban. Laban generally means what? What does white symbolize? Purity. That's part of the scam. Even his name is part of the scam. Where do we find him? We find him in the Haggadah of Pesach. What did Laban want to do? It says, Bikesh Lakor, he wanted to wipe out the Jewish people. He wanted to kill Yaakov and the entire family. So this is Laban, her brother, and he's a scammer and a schemer, and we're going to see more about him. That's why I say he's my favorite character in the Torah. He's good. I mean, this guy's good. This guy reminds me of myself playing Monopoly with my brother. That's what he reminds me of. I was always the banker. And I always felt that, I'm entitled to quarterly bonuses. And there were always accusations of financial misappropriations, what we call cheating. And I'd be lying if I said they weren't well-founded. But one thing happened. I won. And as Vince Lombardi said, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. It doesn't matter how it happens. Now, why is the name Laban imply a scammer? Why is it? It implies beauty and purity. You know this story? This kid comes to his parents. They're sitting at the table. He says, hey, Mom, Dad, why does a bride always dress in white? So the mother says, because white's a symbol of beauty and purity. And the father says, that's not the reason. That's not the reason. All major home appliances come in white. It's a joke. So wait, you got now. White symbolizes. Here, tell you this is a white. You got a white background over here. What could go on that white board? Anything. Anything but white. Anything but white. That means the color white represents, and Laban's name is white. All possibilities are still open. That board holds endless possibilities. When you cut a deal with Laban, no matter what you agreed on, all possibilities are still open. That means you closed the deal, you shook hands on it, you signed the contract, it doesn't matter. All possibilities are open. That's the schemer, that's the deceiver. And we'll see later on that he is a deceiver. Now, watch this, because gentlemen, there's a big question here, and you're going to have to stay with this now. Because there seems to be a very strange sequence here. Watch what happens. I'm reading it again now, Pasuk Chavtes and Lamed. Ulerivka ach ushmo Laban. 4 lines from the top. Vayoratz Laban el ha'ish hachutza. Laban runs out to the man, el ha'ayin. Okay? First it says he runs out to the man. Now look at the next pasuk. Vayihi kir oses hanezem ves hatzimidim al yedeacho. So when he sees the jewelry, what do you guys call it? Ice, bling, on his sister's hands. Ukishamo es divrei Rivka achoso. And when he hears the words of Rivka when she said, Ko diber elaya ish, this is what the man said to me. Vayavo el ish, he comes to the man. Vihine omed ala gemalim ala ayin. And he's standing by the water. Is there a problem with the sequence, gentlemen? Look at the problem. It's a problem. I mean, get your Gemara, turn on the Gemara heads now. There's a problem. What's the first thing it says? Rivka has a brother named Laban, and he ran out to the man. Then it says, when he saw this jewelry that she was wearing, then he went out to the man by the well. Isn't there a problem there? First he started running out to the man. Then the Torah says he saw the jewelry. The opposite, it should be an opposite order, shouldn't it? He saw the jewelry on her hands. Hey sis, where'd you get the gold? Oh, there's a guy out there at the well distributing jewelry. And then he starts running. And then it says, the next pasuk says, it doesn't say he ran to the man. It says when he saw the jewelry, then he came over to the man. Didn't run to the man. What's going on here? The whole thing is garbled. You hear the problem? Okay. So the answer is that the first thing that happened was Rivka comes in and he sees the jewelry. So he starts running out to the man. But then when he sees the jewelry in his mind's eye, and he realizes, 1 second, I don't want to look too overeager here. And therefore, he's seeing it now. First he got all excited. He saw his sister with the jewelry, starts running out. But once he realizes what's at stake, he says, 1 second, there's a lot of gold over here. That means there may be more gold over here. Now, the worst thing you can do in a business deal is to look overeager. So what does he do? He slows down. He doesn't run to the man. Vayovo, he goes slowly to the guy. Vihine, now the word vihine always introduces surprise. The word vihine, wow, look at that. There's a man standing over there by the well. That's all part of his deception. He comes up to Laban, he comes up to Eliezer, and he is surprised. Wow, comes striding up. Oh, hi, how are you? What's your name? Because you don't want to tip his hand because there's a lot at stake here. Okay. So then, what does he say? Vayomer bo baruch Hashem. Come, O blessed one of Hashem. Lama tamod b'chutz. Why are you standing outside? Va'anochi pinisi es habayis. I've cleared out the home u'makom lagmaim for the camels. So Rashi says, what does it mean I cleared out the home? I cleared out all the idols. You got nothing to worry about. There's no, the idol worship is out of the home. There's nothing in the home. You don't have to avoid coming in. Which you see, why would he clear out the idols? These are his gods. Why would he clear them out? Because there's money to be made. Which you see that people in life will sometimes compromise their religious beliefs just for the sake of money, which is something we don't do. And the pasuk in Kriyat Shema says, "Ve'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha." You have to love Hashem your God. We say it 3 times a day, gentlemen. B'chol levavcha, with all of your heart. U'v'chol nafshecha, all of your life. That means you even have to give up your life for God. V'chol me'odecha means all your possessions. That means you are not allowed to transgress any mitzvah. You're not allowed to transgress any mitzvah, any command, even if it means losing all your money. For your life, you could, except for the big 3. You could give up if your life's at stake, so you could transgress, except for idol worship, immorality, and murder. But when it comes to money, you must give up all your money. That means if a guy puts a gun to if a guy says to you, tell me 1 sentence of Lashon Hara, or I will take away all of your money. The halakha is you got to give up all your money. All your money, just for one. It doesn't even have to be drastic shit, drastic Lashon Hara. Just one, Chaim has messy handwriting. That's good Lashon Hara, mahadrin mina mahadrin. Right? You're not allowed to say it. You have to give up all your money. B'chol me'odecha. Here, Laban, at the thought of money, what's he willing to do? Out goes the religion. First thing is out goes the religion. If a person, back in the day when Jews came to America, and they got fired from their jobs if they didn't work on Shabbos. The halacha is you're not allowed to work on Shabbos unless it's life-threatening. Unless it's life-threatening. If you're ever stuck on a plane and they forgot your kosher meal, you can't eat the night. Oh, I'm going to die if I don't eat the food. No, you won't. No, you won't. You'll have some peanuts or an apple. You'll have to be hungry for 12 hours. You'll make it. You'll be fine. And you're not allowed to compromise your religious ideals for money. But Laban is just a symbol. There are people in the world who, my religion is important up till we get to the point of money. And often money becomes the thing that determines how religious you really are. Number 1. Number 2, okay, so then the man comes into the house. Now, turn up ahead. I want to show you something. Look what Eliezer says as he starts. The Torah goes through the whole speech that Eliezer makes about how my master has a son, and I came here, I met your daughter at the well. And then 5 lines from the bottom it says, Va'ova hayom el ha'ayin, I came today to the well. Va'omar Hashem Elokei Adoni Avram, etc. And I said this prayer. So, what's he emphasizing? Look at Rashi. 4th line from the top, right column of Rashi. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Va'ova hayom. Hayom yatsasi, everybody see that? I left today, v'hayom basi, and I arrived today. 1-day trip, all the way from there to there. Mikan shekafza lo haaretz. He had kfitza saderech. The earth jumped for him. It was beamed down. Remember Star Trek? They used to beam people down. Did you guys ever see Star Trek? I didn't like it either. Too sci-fi. But there was that beaming down. You could beam people down. You could use flow powder, right, to move from place to place. In Harry Potter, they have flow powder. By the way, the only reason I read Harry Potter and read a book is secular, I wanted to read Harry Potter because I was curious. What did this lady do to get 12-year-old American kids to read? What could she possibly have done? Well, I couldn't. I was burning with curiosity. So he got there in a day. What's the Torah teaching us? Why? This, gentleman, is extremely important. If you don't appreciate it now, you will later. You will at some point in life. Person goes looking for a shidduch, and some people it goes quicker. Some people it takes time. The Torah is teaching you when it's time for Yitzchak, when it's time for a shidduch to happen. The shidduch is going to happen. There's going to be kfitzas there. You could try, and a guy's waiting for 2 years to find when the time is right, it's going to happen, boom, like that. Because the shidduch is coming from Shemayim. And you can make all the effort in the world, I knew a guy, came from America. He came on a one-way ticket to Israel, 6 weeks. He had a two-way ticket. He had a 6-week trip to Israel. He wanted to get married. He came to Israel. Met a young lady, the first week he was there, met a young lady from South Africa, got engaged, went to South Africa, they got married within the month, came back to Israel, and he came back to America on his return ticket with a wife after 6 weeks. How do you like that? Right? 6 weeks later, I know, and they lived happily ever after. In 6 weeks, he was married, tripped, back, the whole thing. And all in 6 weeks. So when it happens, it's going to happen. And there are a lot of people that it gets especially difficult when you have children, and children want to get married, especially in a frum world where it works with Shidduch. And you're waiting, you're looking. And you just have to know that when the time is right, it's going to happen, and it always comes from left field. Ask anybody who got married, how did you meet your wife? Well, I was, I happened to go somewhere for a Shabbos meal, and there was some guy was sitting there, and he was looking at me the whole time, and it turns out that he has a sister, and you weren't even going to go there for Shabbos. You just got schlepped along by your friend at the last minute. And you always find that the strangest stories. Ask people, it's always a strange, weird story. There's always a story, and it doesn't make any sense. So there was I know, and these I know personally, by the way. These are stories that personally, just talk to people. We had a bacher at the other yeshiva. He was 20 years old, and he was on his way home to America. He had to make a trip to America to his brother's wedding from yeshiva bacher. So he made up his mind that when he gets on the plane, he's going to do one of three things. He's either going to learn, sleep, or eat, but he's not going to watch any video. He got on the plane, took out his Gemara, and started learning, and he learned essentially the entire trip. In the meantime, there was a girl on the plane, from Beis Yaakov girl, and she saw him, and he was sitting there learning the entire time, and she wanted to marry a guy who's going to be serious about his learning, but she can't approach him. So there's a Kolo couple sitting on the plane, and she went to this Kolo couple, and she said, "Could you do me a favor if I can get me his information?" So they went to the guy to the information, and gave it gave the information to the girl's mother. The mother called the shotman. 2 weeks later, they were engaged. This guy didn't know what hit him. He wasn't planning on getting married. Next thing you know, he's engaged. I think he's married about 5-6 years already. I still think he doesn't know what hit him. And there it was. Hashem decided now is the time for you to get married. I had a cousin, true story. Had a cousin. She was about 25, which is considered a little older in the Jewish in the frum world for a girl, and even for a guy. And she was 25 years old. Her mother is a shadchan who was networked across the country and across the world with other shadchanim. And for 3-4 years, they're looking for a shidduch for this girl. And her mother was on the phone every night calling people. Then one day they went for a walk. They went vegetable shopping. Pete's Fruit Shop in Chicago, the Pete's Fruit Store. And the neighbor across the street, an aunt was visiting from Lakewood, and she was walking around the neighborhood just looking around, and at some point she decided she wants a piece of fruit. So she stopped at the Pete's Fruit Shop, and she saw this young lady, and took one look and said, "Boy, she'd be perfect for my nephew Plony." 2 weeks later, they were engaged. This was after all the trying and effort and now calling and networking and everything else. and then you go into Pete's fruit shop, and and by the way, do you know you pay the broker? You pay a shadchan, do you know that? It's called shadchan geld. You pay no different than any other broker. If a broker shows you a home, you pay a broker fee, right? You pay a shadchan fee. You have to pay the shadchan, and you have to pay. It's about $1,000 each side. But they're doing a lot of work. They make phone calls. Sometimes it's only a phone call, and it's called shadchan geld. Right? It's called shadchan geld. So Pete's fruit store, Pete, the Greek guy, I guess he was the shadchan. But that's what Torah is teaching you. When it's supposed to happen, there's going to be kvitzas haderech. It's not going to be any delay, and the person just has to know when it comes to a shidduch, it's all about tefillah, it's all about davening. Most of the effort that people put into it, the effort you'll find, ask people how you got married, it wasn't them, it was something that came out of left field. All right? Okay.